Welcome to lesson 2.5. So today we are kind of putting it all together. So we have learned about what a proportion is, meaning it's the same ratio. We've learned how to solve proportions. We've learned how to identify whether something is proportional on a table and a graph. We talked about the constant of proportionality. And so now we're kind of putting it all together with some word problems, how to make the graphs and everything, how to make the table with the equations, all of that. Okay, so remember, the equation for a proportional relationship is y equals kx. So as you know, k is your constant of proportionality. Okay? Now, your y and your x are representing numbers, but one of the things you're going to have to get used to is if you get a word problem, you need to identify what your y and x are representing. But your y value is always your dependent variable, and your x value is always your independent variable. Okay, so x is your independent variable, y is your dependent variable, and k is your constant of proportionality. Now your tables and your graphs, that's just kind of a reminder of how to find whether they're proportional or not. We've worked through that, so we're going to kind of hop straight into the word problems. Okay, so a unicorn daycare center requires there to be 2 supervisors for every 18 baby unicorns. So with this problem, there are 2 things we're working with. We're working with supervisors and we're working with baby unicorns. Okay, those are our 2 things we're working on. So a unicorn daycare center requires there be 2 supervisors for every 18 baby unicorns. So our dependent variable, our y, is going to be the baby unicorns, okay? So if you don't have enough supervisors, then you can't have that many baby unicorns, okay? So your y is going to be representing your baby unicorns, okay? And we're talking about the number of them. How many of them are there? Okay. And then your x is going to be your supervisors, your number of supervisors. So you're thinking like, okay, if I have this many unicorns, how many supervisors do I need? And so it's a proportional relationship. So I want to find k. Okay. So k, remember, is y over x. So how many unicorns do I have? 18. And how many supervisors? 2. So that means 18 divided by 2 is 9. So k is 9. So my equation is y equals 9x. Okay, so that's my equation. So here is the beautiful equation that we needed. Boom, here it is. This is our equation. Woo, we found the equation. Okay, now we can graph this equation and make a table with it, okay? So we're going to pick the x values. So we're going to pick 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you can make it 1 million if you want it in the table. But typically what we do is we cover 0 to 1, 2, 3. And then when you get into linear functions, we're going to add negatives into it. But for proportional relationships, we can kind of just leave it as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now we're going to use this table. So when x is 0, y is 9 times x. So 9 times 0, that's going to be 0. So when I have 0, my y value is 0. Okay? Then if I pick x as 1, 9 times 1 is 9. Okay? When it's 2, we already know it's 18. Then x is 3. 9 times 3 is 27. And 4 would be y is 9 times 4, which is 36, okay? So that's just filling in our table. So we get to pick the x values, and then we plug them into the equation to get our y values. Now we can graph that. So we're going to graph the table, okay? So these are ordered pairs, 0, 0, 1, 9, 2, 18, 3, 27, and 4, 36. So my first point is 0, 0, so right here. Then 1, 9, 2, 18, 327, 436, and we can continue going with some of them if we wanted to, but you don't need that many points. You really technically only need 2. So then I'm going to draw my line. So they're going to go through here. And so ta-da, there is my graph. Now the other thing you have to be conscious of is you have to write you have to label the axis. So this is baby unicorns. How many baby unicorns they can have in the daycare with how many supervisors. Okay, so that's it for the first one. So let's look at the second one. For every 2 books, 2 inches of space is taken on the bookshelf. So we're working with books and inches of space, okay? So for every 2 books, we have 2 inches of space. So our y value, so what depends, the inches of space, how much inches of space we're using depends on how many books we have, right? So inches of space is going to be our y value. And our x value is our books. We get to pick how many books we have, right? So our k is going to be 2 over 2, which equals 1. So our equation is y equals 1x. So ta-da, we have found our equation. Yay! But now we need to make a table and a graph. So if I have 0 books, then I'm going to use 0 inches of space on the bookshelf, right? Like that makes sense. If I have 1 book, 2 books, 3 books, and 4 books, we want to know, okay, how much space are we going to be taking up? So if I have 1 book, then only 1 inch of space is going to be taken. If I have 2, 1 times 2 is 2. If I have 3, it's 3. 4 is 4. So now we can graph that. So 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and then 4, 4. And now I draw my line. Okay, so I draw them through. Make sure you're precise in how you draw the line. It has to be a straight line. It is a straight line. Okay? And so again, all you have to do is once you find your equation, you write the x values. You get to pick them. I suggest 0, 1 through 4. And then plug them into the equation. And then you get your x and your y. So for the last one, for every goblin defeated in Goblins of the Galaxy, 6 power points are earned. So we're dealing with how many goblins were defeated with power points. Okay, those are our 2 options. Okay, we get to decide how many goblins we defeat. So the x is going to be our goblins defeated. How many goblins did we defeat? Okay, and then our y value is going to be our power points, because how many power points we get depends on how many goblins we defeated. Okay, so our y, it's y over x, so k is 6 over 1, so it's 6. So our equation is y equals 6x. Woo, we got our equation. Yay us. So now we get to fill in the table. Okay, so I'm going to pick my values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if you didn't want to do 0, you don't have to. We'll just do 1 through 5 this time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I have if I beat one goblin, I get 6 power points, okay? If I defeat 2 goblins, so let's plug in 2 for X, then that means I get 12 power points. Woo! Okay, if I get 3, if I kill 3 goblins, that means I get 18, right? And then 4 would be 24, and then 5 would be 30. Okay, so now we can graph, but we need to make sure that we label our graph. So our X is goblins defeated. And our Y values are the power points. Sorry, I didn't label number 2. So this was number of books. And this was inches of space. So, my bad. Okay, so back to the last one. So, I have my ordered pairs. So, I have 1, 6. So, 1, 6. I have 2, 12. And then I have 3, 18. And then 4, 24 would be right here, and then I can't graph the 5, but I still have enough points to draw my line. So I'm going to draw my line. So if you notice, even though we didn't graph the origin, it still goes through the origin. So let me make that Illustrator. So there we go. That's graph. So remember, when we have proportional relationships, we have to identify the dependent and independent variable, find K, and then once we have the equation, we can create the table and the graph and all of that. So that is it for lesson 2.5. Bye.